Tom Gross, British journalist and international affairs commentator. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's just start with what happened. What more do we know about the four activists and this terrorist connection that the judge mentioned?
Well, as you mentioned, the four activists got 26 years in prison in total. The ringleader, who's 23, is a graduate of philosophy from Oxford University. It wasn't just breaking into a Elbit defense company facility in Britain. They used a sledgehammer to almost break the spine of a policewoman. They came armed with sledgehammers and crowbars. It was a premeditated attack. And although the sentences seem quite long, other people are criticising them as too little. For example, somebody in Northern Ireland the other day who pushed a trash bin at a policeman got 4 years in prison, and people who rioted in Southampton recently against migration policies were given very quick and long sentences. So some people are saying these Palestine Action people are not getting enough of a prison sentence. In answer to your question about the terrorist connection, there is an argument they're not a terrorist group, and it's wrong of the British government to suggest they're a terrorist group. They may be a criminal group. And there's also criticism because the police have arrested hundreds of their supporters, often rather seemingly benign middle or upper middle class, elderly, white British citizens who have sat on the ground saying we support Palestine Action and they shouldn't be arrested, these people. It's not a typical terror group. That's what the argument in favour of not calling it a terrorist group.
All right. Let me ask you, this case has received quite a bit of media attention. Why is it such an important case in the big picture? Does it set a precedent? Does it highlight a bigger issue?
Yes, well, there's definitely rising anti-Semitism and anti-Israelism in the United Kingdom, although it may be even worse in other smaller European countries like Slovenia in the past, Norway, Ireland, Spain. Britain is a more prominent country on the global stage and in cultural matters because of English and so on. And I think the British government under Keir Starmer, under pressure to clamp down on this tsunami of anti-Israelism and anti-Semitism, has highlighted this one issue, but I'm not sure this one issue is the most important issue. There are many other things in Britain the government could tackle which I think are worse. For example, state-funded bodies such as BBC English, without going into detail, quite often strays from criticism of Israel into outright incitement against Jews. Then you have some of the state-funded British universities. Then you have things like the Glastonbury Festival, where they chant death, death to the IDF, which gets government funding. The Edinburgh Festival, where 4 Jewish comedians, not Israeli comedians, were chased out of performing because they were Jewish. Again, if I was the British government, I'd strip funding of the Edinburgh Festival. Then we have the National Health Service, where they're going to make 1.5 million national health workers do mandatory anti-Semitism training. What they should be doing is picking on the tiny minority of that 1.5 million who actually may mistreat Jewish patients when those patients are anti-Semitic. And those people should be fired as doctors and possibly imprisoned.
All right, Tom Gross, thank you very much for being with us today.
You're welcome, Bianca.
U.S. President